Welcome everybody to the Gaming Careers Podcast. This is the second live episode. I think actually officially, Ben, we're on episode 32 or somewhere around there. But yes, welcome everybody that's watching. Already got a whole load of people in here, and I love that the chat is already going away whilst we're getting the stream set up. But Ben, how are you over in America? You just had Mother's Day, right, this weekend? We don't have the same Mother's Day over here in the UK, so how was that?
Yeah, it was good. Yesterday was Mother's Day here in the U.S. My mom's not close to where I'm at now, but still was able to call her, wish her happy Mother's Day. I didn't know. So you guys have a different day for Mother's Day over there?
Yeah. It was a couple of months ago, I feel like. We must just celebrate it a different day, but makes being on social platforms interesting, because do I tweet about my Mother's Day or the American Mother's Day where all my viewers are? You know, so many things to think about as a content creator, but I'm glad to hear that you're doing well. As always, we have loads to discuss from this week. It seems like every single week that goes by, more and more news comes out about live streaming. There's a few bits in the title that we're going to be talking about, but plenty more to discuss from Twitch and YouTube and even Twitter now. So yeah, thanks so much for everybody joining in the chat and checking in on the podcast. If it's anybody's first time listening or watching the podcast, then definitely introduce yourself in the chat, because this, as I said, is the second live episode, but we've been doing it for a little while. I can see Podcastage. We've got some big names in the chat as well, Ben. But shall we just dive straight in then? I think maybe the first news that we talk about is this Sony Discord news, which I think came out literally a few hours after we finished the last podcast.
Yeah, I told Pete there's this curse with podcasts that are live where all the big news comes out like the second after you finish doing the podcast for some reason. So we talked before how Discord was in talks with Microsoft in the past for acquisition, and that obviously kind of fell through. However, it turns out right after that fell through that there was a discussion of a partnership with PlayStation, which makes sense. It's probably why the stuff with Microsoft didn't go through. I believe PlayStation actually made an investment in Discord in one of their funding rounds, and so that's kind of where this is coming from. And obviously that was kind of the last frontier, I think, besides Nintendo, which good luck to that piece. That Discord has not really touched yet, so hopefully we'll get kind of the same connection to Xbox that we have for PlayStation in the future, and maybe some other cool features. They put out a little article about kind of why they're doing the partnership and some of the things they want to do. So I'm pretty excited to see it, because the more places we can get Discord, the better, in my opinion. But Pete, you have thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the surprising thing from my point of view, especially when I first read about this, was that we thought the deal was probably going to be Discord and Microsoft, and what that would look like. Would we have to sign in with our Microsoft Live accounts, and how would they ruin it? And this is like Microsoft's biggest gaming side competitor anyway, isn't it? Sony and Sony PlayStation competing with the Xbox. So when we heard that the Microsoft deal fell through, I guess I just thought it was going to go public. I didn't think we were going to get some kind of announcement. I mean, it's not a majority share that they've staked into the company. I think it's like their round H of funding, so like quite far through their funding journey. But Sony have invested. I have got a news article up here, but most of the websites that are reporting this are basically saying the same thing, that what is Discord, because major news and a lot of people don't know what Discord is. I think the interesting thing from my point of view about this is, if Sony is going to integrate Discord, which clearly it is, into their consoles, then surely they're pushing down that cross-platform play. Like they want to push people playing on PC and people playing on Sony PlayStation games that can work on crossplay, like Fortnite, or at least Fortnite used to. Or they just want to be this social network that they also support Discord, because that's where all the people are hanging out and with their friends in COVID times and all those kind of things. So I think it's really interesting. I don't think I expected it, but it's good, because I'm not a console gamer. I think we've spoken in the past on the podcast that you're not a particularly well-versed console gamer either. We're both PC master race.
Yep.
But it's great for Sony PlayStation owners that they're going to be able to eventually, use Discord voice chat and all the benefits that has to be able to interact with people that aren't just on Sony PlayStation.
Yeah, I don't know have they confirmed that they're actually doing cross-platform voice chat with PlayStation? I think they kind of alluded to possible stuff they're doing, but that would be amazing if they add that, and not just the PC, but Xbox, and just bridging more of the gap across that kind of thing. Because a lot of those, I don't know if you've done a lot of cross-platform gaming, but generally the voice quality for that kind of stuff is not great when you're playing with friends who are on consoles and PlayStations and Switches and everything else these days. So I think that's definitely something Discord could improve for sure. And even better if they can do cross-platform, not which only PC, but Xbox and anything else that gets Discord down the line. So, and it's really cool because I think PlayStation has been kind of the holdout in cross-platform stuff in the past. I know even like when Fortnite started doing cross-platform and making a big wave that way, I think PlayStation was kind of the last one to finally cave to the cross-platform stuff. So it's cool to see them doing this, and I hope that we'll see maybe Nintendo in the future, other kind of things doing Discord as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the real dream, is that all the other consoles just adopt Discord, and then we can benefit being the PC users that have always used Discord. But yeah, I think how I imagine it's going to roll out is Sony is probably going to make use of a version of Discord that allows Sony users to communicate with each other, and then maybe slowly roll it out so that they can, join servers that PC users are using and things like that. And it could be a bit more cross-platform. And I just feel like if you take out competitive gaming, a lot of social gaming can be cross-platform. Games like Fall Guys and Rocket League, most people that are playing on PC are playing that with a controller anyway, so there's not an inherent advantage. It's only when you're talking about like FPS games that are just much more difficult to use a controller for, and you need things like aim assist, that the cross-platform doesn't really make sense. So big move by Sony anyway, and I think most people are happy with the fact that Discord wasn't just outright bought by Microsoft and that it looks like it's going to go public, because then we can buy in as public owners and hopefully make some profit from the awesome platform. I think you said in the last week's podcast that you feel that Discord is one of those platforms that you don't really have many complaints about at the moment. I think we talked in the last week's podcast about Gilded and them being a competitor. And it's difficult to get behind a competitor when you like the original so much and they haven't really done anything wrong yet. But maybe it's one of those things that eventually you get big enough that you become the villain. So Discord's probably eventually going to have its downfall.
I don't know, they're going to have to make Skype not the villain first for that to happen. But yeah, I think Discord still is sort of the king in this genre. They don't really have a true competitor yet. Gilded might be the case, but I think they're still, even just hearing about Gilded, it's very few people that actually know about it, it feels like. So we'll have to see if they come up. I am all for new features coming out. And like you said last week, competition is always good for this kind of thing. If they want to have some competitor to Discord really come out and take swings, I'm all for it. But right now, again, not many issues with Discord. Somebody from chat last week did say there's no discoverability, which is kind of true. But Discord's also a little bit different than other social medias because it's about communities, and they added, I think, the whole server discovery area now. So they are working on that. We'll just have to kind of see what comes in the future of this kind of space. But cool to hear that they're getting more support from consoles as well, and more funding, of course, because like you said, once they come out, we'll have to invest for sure in that platform.
Yeah, my prediction is if Gilded does ever become big, then Microsoft will build it, and we'll have that too. Well, they'll buy it, and then we'll have that 2-horse race again. But yeah, that was pretty interesting. I think next topic to talk about is some new YouTube features. Now, I know that coming into this, you're more the streamer guy and I'm more the YouTube guy. But there's a few different features that came out this week for YouTube, and some of them weren't particularly highly reported on. They just sort of came up on Twitter. So first of all, we'll talk about some new analytics that you can get. Obviously, YouTube's been going down this path of not just being for VOD format content anymore. So they have live streams. Obviously, this is a live stream. Hello to everybody that's listening. But we also have stories. You have premieres. You have posts, community posts. There's like a lot of different ways you can push content now to YouTube. And there's been a sort of sneaky update behind the scenes helping users compare metrics between different content forms, I guess. So we've got this tweet here which sort of shows a screenshot of looking at your average view count in the first 7 days based on the content type, whether that's an uploaded video, like a traditional video, a live stream, or if you premiered a video, which is a feature I still don't really use and understand that well. But this is pretty interesting. I always think that YouTube's analytics are the gold standard, and that probably comes from Google really, and Google Analytics. But they used to be very, very difficult to digest, and I think updates like this is going to make it at a glance so much easier to see what's working for you content wise. Maybe what do you need to work on, or what do you need to focus on, what makes the most sense. So yeah, cool little update. I don't know if you had anything in particular to say on that, or we'll just move on to the next one.
Yeah, no, I think that's cool. It's always good to see more options if you're looking in data. And it seems like YouTube is kind of thinking of stuff before it even gets asked, which is kind of cool on the analytics side. I was kind of curious, Mr. YouTube guy, since you're the YouTube. I mean, have you tried premieres? I know you just started live streams last week with this channel, but premieres, like, do you see yourself using this view a lot more?
I definitely will, to compare between uploads and live streams. I mean, I haven't totally decided what I'm going to do with these live streams in video form afterwards. So for last week's pod, the first one, I've left it unlisted and created a playlist on my YouTube channel of the unlisted VODs. So people can still go to my channel or click on the URL that I tweeted out or put into Discord and watch the full video of this podcast. But it's not being pushed to subscribers who come to YouTube the next day as a video that I've released, because I didn't want to annoy people. This is a weekly show. Like, I'm not putting out a tutorial video every single week, so I didn't want to, surprise my audience with a whole new direction of content. But at the same time, it's not then discoverable. It's not being recommended in the platform. So it's really just beneficial for the people that want to watch us record this podcast live. So I definitely think I'm going to use this. I haven't experienced much with premieres, but I know that there's a lot of YouTubers that premiere every single video that they put up, and maybe that has helped them. Maybe some of the people in the chat that are watching today that have YouTube channels, because I see a few, if they've experienced using premieres at all, how that's gone. Because it's one of those things, if YouTube is going to try and be that platform for all kinds of video content, then analytics like this are going to make an insane amount of sense. You're going to need them, if anything, to be able to compare which type is working for you. But if it's really just going to stick as the king of VOD format, which it doesn't look like it is, it looks like it's really chasing the live stream and the stories. They're implementing a lot of features that these other apps have become famous for. We're probably going to have a Clubhouse room on YouTube soon as well, aren't we? So yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so too. I was curious with premieres, especially because I've tried those in the past and they seem like they have potential, but they're really kind of tailored for specific types of content. So just curious if you had thoughts there. I know there are some other updates as well to the platform, with sub-only mode chat coming out this past week as well. We have a screenshot for that as well. I can't see.
Yeah, we've gone across to it now. So yeah, introduce it.
Yeah, so basically sub-only chat, which sounds just like it is on Twitch, got added to YouTube, which I think was probably one of the biggest requests for sure on YouTube streaming. So just like it sounds, you can have your subscribers only talk in the chat, which is useful if you want to incentivize subscribing, but as well, if you have moderation concerns, that's always useful on Twitch. And all in all, I think there's no one who's really going to complain about this. Obviously, you shouldn't keep your stream in sub-only chat all the time, which we've talked about before, but it's a nice option to have for certain occasions if you need it, I think.
Yeah, we've got like the world's blurriest screenshot here. It's not the live stream. I've just opened it for the first time, and it seems like it wasn't the most high-res screenshot. But this is a tweet from Fwiz, who is in charge of like all things gaming at YouTube, basically. Good person to follow if you want to know about the live streaming updates anyway. And it looks like, yeah, you can enable subscriber only mode or member only mode, or specific people, which kind of sounds a bit like Clubhouse actually, but they would just be typing in chat instead. So obviously on YouTube, it's not the same as Twitch. On YouTube, a subscriber is somebody that's clicked the red subscribe button, which is completely free to do. So you can restrict it to just people that have done that. Members are what is equivalent to Twitch subscriptions. So people that have paid to join your membership. I don't have that on my channel. Maybe that's something we'll enable in the future. I don't know, but that's effectively the same as Twitch subscribers. And then specific people, maybe if you click that box, I imagine you can type in usernames that can then chat, but that sounds like a really limited experience. But also slow mode is shown now. I don't know if that's been a feature for a while. I think it has. I don't think that's a recent announcement, but pretty cool. It shows that YouTube is really, building the features that Twitch have built and ones that are requested. Like, I can imagine their big streamers, Courage, Valkyrie, PewDiePie, people like that, they're the ones that they're really asking, what features do you miss from Twitch? Like, what should we work on straight away to try and get more, to try and make your experience as a streamer better and your viewers' experience as a community better on this platform. So it's good to see sub mode that is officially launched. I think for now, it's only for gaming creators, and I don't know if it's being slowly rolled out or if it's just for anybody that's streaming like in the gaming category. But I have a few friends that are streaming on YouTube various different things, and they haven't seen that option yet. And then the final update that we saw is YouTube Shorts. I think we just talked about it a little bit. It's kind of a copy of TikTok and Instagram Reels. They all have their own names. It's honestly, you need a degree to be able to discuss these. But YouTube Shorts is now available to everybody in the US, so it doesn't matter on how many subscribers you have or anything like that. As long as you're in the US, you have access to YouTube Shorts. Again, another feature that I'm scared of trying. Kind of similar to Premiere is like one of our chat members, Podcastage, said in the chat that he's never experienced using Premieres, and there was some rumors that when they originally came out that they would hurt your normal VOD content. And I think I've also taken that approach where I'm a little bit scared about using some of the features because I don't know how they're going to affect the rest of the content. And because I'm not putting out content 3 times a week, I feel like it would have a bigger effect. Like I'm trying to make a really polished video every couple of weeks or something, which is going to be useful to the community. So I don't want to spoil it by putting up a story of, you know, me taking my dog out for a walk or something. Have you used YouTube Shorts at all in your channel?
I have not used it, but I've seen a lot of it, and it seems like I think this plus the polls and the statuses I've seen a big uptick in recently on YouTube, and it seems like they're kind of pushing these new formats. Especially Shorts make sense, right? Because it's almost verbatim the same way that TikTok is and Instagram Stories and Snapchat. So it makes sense. And like you said earlier, they're kind of going after multiple types of video, not just the long form or traditional YouTube content, but these shorter bite-sized pieces as well as the live streams. So I think it'd be worth trying. And I'm glad they rolled it out to more people because I have seen some channels really pop off with the shorts who maybe even don't make regular videos, but just do shorts. So I think having that option is pretty cool. And I'm sure we'll see some really good stuff come out there. Plus, it's nice, like if you are making stuff on TikTok and Instagram, whatever, it's just one more place to post your content that fits that. It's the same format. So more platforms that way, the better. And I would definitely try out some stuff. I know there are even some tools out there that will, I think we covered like the clip from Twitch thing before, where it'll take your clip and put your webcam above it and just automatically fit that format. So again, just one more place you can put that kind of thing now in the future.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of big YouTubers, actually, funnily enough, the one that Fuzz has posted here, they've created their own shorts channel. So it's not just putting shorts on your main channel. They sort of created a separate channel which is just for short content, which I'm sure isn't YouTube's end goal. Like their end goal is for people to put any content into their channel. If it's live streams, if it's shorts, if it's YouTube videos, if it's what do they call it? Community posts is I think what they're calling like their version of Twitter effectively. I don't think they want you to separate them out. But this is a prime example of somebody that's probably scared to upset the algorithm of their main channel, so they create a separate channel. And maybe that makes no sense right now, but I mean that wasn't the point of this discussion. We're not going deep into what you should and shouldn't do on YouTube. But yeah, another update. Obviously, shorts are now live for everybody. Let's move on to Twitch, because if I can get this right, I think the next one that we're talking about, is DMCA. So Twitch now has a page, twitch.tv/copyright-claims, that anybody can go to, and this has definitely been made for, you know, the music industry and TV rights industry and things like that, where you can file your DMCA request effectively. And this full page, I was worried that I just revealed my email, but thankfully it's my Gaming Careers email that everybody has. is designed basically for any company to say, look, this streamer is currently live and broadcasting some infringing material. Here's the proof that I own the material, the copyrighted work. And it's not just for live, it's also for past broadcasts. So if you find any kind of infringing content, this is the page that you now go to. And this was always somewhere on Twitch, but I don't think it was as prominent as like a URL that anybody can get to. You know, you don't need to be logged in or anything like that. So I wonder if this is going to be abused or not. But the kind of info that you're putting in here is so standard. This is the exact same process that you would do on any platform, on Twitter, or I'm sure TikTok and things like that have that as well. So yeah, what do you think about this, Ben?
Yeah, I think this, of course, is going to lead to more DMCAs. I mean, for sure. Anytime making that process easier or more apparent, then it's going to happen more. And we already actually saw some of that the past week, which we'll touch on in a sec. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of organizations or people file these DMCAs. I feel like the vast majority will still be in past broadcast versus live, just because it's so hard to catch stuff live, I feel like. But yeah, it'll be interesting to follow, because we even had, I think the next day after this officially, or 3 days later, maybe, we got a bunch more DMCAs come out, really around a lot of TV content. I think it was a lot of sports shows, like some soccer matches or football matches, as well as just other types of TV shows that I think even got shown for like a fraction of a second on the stream, and then that stream got DMCA'd for that kind of stuff. So it's interesting because it's not music now, it's being DMCA'd. It's more around other types of entertainment, probably still music, but we're seeing a lot of other types rise up too, which I think is a good note because we kind of associate DMCA with music at this point because that's been the vast majority of DMCAs. But obviously there's a lot more stuff that's copyright than just music, whether it's TV shows or anything that you don't have the rights to essentially. So interesting to see this. And we'll have to follow if we see more TV shows and other types of media get DMCAs too.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the you know, it seems to be a lot of cases. I know that Zach Bussey, who covers a lot of Twitch industry news, has like a website page that he's put up with every DMCA request that he sees like go through Twitter or in the news cycle, and he says that he's seen a lot of the live DMCA requests, so ones that are coming in when somebody is live because of infringing content. And I think he made the point that it's not been about music really so far, although I'm sure that's coming in the next couple of months. It's literally just as soon as the you know, audio companies start chasing after their copyright money. But an example here, screenshot is of a football game, a soccer game for you guys over in America. But coming in whilst they were live, and apparently they only showed it by accident for a second. I don't know how true that is because I don't know anything about this streamer. But interesting to see that this new website that Twitch has put up, or this new page where you can submit a form, seems to be acted on almost instantly. I don't know if they have to approve it. I'd imagine they probably don't even approve it. They just issue the DMCA strike, and then you as a content creator have to appeal it, and then it gets removed, and then it's decided upon if you actually broke the rules of DMCA or not. And I just don't think it's going to be long until music companies are you know, chasing live streamers. I wouldn't be surprised if there's already big music agencies that are making notes of every single song that's streamed on certain Twitch users, and they're writing into a big Google spreadsheet or Microsoft Excel document, and then they're going to hit them with 50 DMCA takedown requests, and then what do you do after that? So yeah, it's a tough one, but it's not surprising. We talked in depth on this podcast about DMCA. I know that there'll be a lot of new viewers and listeners to this podcast since we started it. But you can't really blame Twitch for a lot of this stuff. You can in the past. Twitch was the slowest to implement things that YouTube implemented 5 years before. And Twitch was sort of caught with their pants down a little bit in terms of, you know, they knew that the adpocalypse was coming,
right?
For DMCA stuff, and they just didn't decide to build any features to help the creators. So Twitch is definitely to blame in that aspect. But things like this, you cannot blame Twitch for. Like, this is their legal. They have to do this from a legal standpoint. Yeah. They have to make it easy for people to issue requests as Twitch grows as a platform.
Yeah, and I think this is probably inevitable too, because anytime there's some sort of sporting match, chances are you can find it on Twitch with somebody streaming it that shouldn't be. So this was going to happen at some point anyway. And like you said, this isn't really on Twitch's side as much as just on the people who are abusing this and getting away with it for so long. So now there's actually a way to catch it and DMCA it. So I think that part is fine. The crazy part to me is Zach did say we've had more live takedowns in the past week than the entire year before now. So that's kind of crazy. And so we might see a lot more live DMCAs coming out, not only for the sports, like you said, but also music. I hope that we don't have that horror situation that you mentioned where it's like 50 at once and then just DMCA Apocalypse 2.0. But I know we've talked about DMCA so much on the show. It's like the DMCA show is the subtitle for this podcast at this point. So I don't want to overdo it, but just know that we have seen a big increase in live on Twitch in the past week or so.
Yeah, and like you said, with it being more about video content at the moment, at least, when is it going to be the point where YouTubers are submitting DMCA requests because streamers are watching their YouTube content live? Because so many streamers watch YouTube content in between queues or literally just as content. And, you know, you can say that it's good publicity for the YouTuber, but at some point, you know, if you're a YouTuber and 50,000 people are watching you live through a stream, that might be annoying because you're not getting those 50,000 views.
Pete, are you going to start DMCAing people for watching your videos?
Absolutely not.
Is that coming?
I would never do that. You can clip that. People can watch my videos as much as they want, but it wouldn't surprise me if this is going to be a thing. You know, for Twitch streamers to start receiving DMCA requests from YouTubers, which just seems backwards. Well, like, the whole content creator community is going to start falling apart because we're all fighting over DMCA. But it would be interesting for YouTubers to then be the ones issuing strikes after years and years of them be the ones receiving strikes. So who knows, honestly. It's a mess, but it's an interesting topic to report on because it keeps developing. Although this is a tiny little update, just the fact that this website now exists is seeing way more live takedowns and live DMCA strikes. So it's probably going to get abused. I think a lot of people in chat are worried about it being abused, but until we see that on a wide scale, Twitch can't really do much to prevent that until they start to see what the problems are. So yeah, right. I mean, DMCA is like one of those words that makes me tick. Like, I feel like I'm developing a habit where it's like causing a reaction in my body, and I just go into like robot DMCA mode. So let's move on. Let's talk about what we talked about last week, which was the incredibly impressive Let's Chat event. I'll bring this up on screen, which we talked about at great length. We really analyzed DJ Wheat's response to the hot tub streaming meta, and it was a one-hit wonder. It's no longer. Well, we don't know when it's coming back. I think it's probably the better way to put it. You can see this was the original tweet. You know, Let's Chat every Wednesday at 1 p.m. You're going to be able to tune in on the official Twitch channel and ask us questions about what we're doing at Twitch and, you know, hold us accountable. And then, what was it? two days after the stream, thanks to everyone that tuned into the first episode of Let's Chat. We've heard your feedback and we're going to hit pause on the next stream while we make changes for Let's Chat going forward. Stay tuned for updates on future episodes. This isn't surprising. I think we talked last week, didn't we, about how we didn't feel like DJ Wheat handled that question very well and probably should have prepped a bit more.
And it wasn't just a question on air, but I don't know if you saw on Twitter, he was responding to a lot of people and like defending himself and not in a great way, which can never really end well. If you tried to do that on Twitter, it just ended up causing more problems. So obviously the way that whole topic was answered was not super great. And they decided, okay, instead of getting more hot questions, let's just take a break for that for right now. We don't have any idea when it's coming back. If it's coming back, they've said there's updates on future episodes, maybe, but who knows when. So unfortunately, this is what I was really worried about, like I said last week, because when we have a bad issue like this, and it's the very first time that they did that, then there's a strong chance they don't keep doing it. And that's exactly what happened. So hopefully we'll see it come back in the future or some other variant of it where it's a bit more scripted, I would guess, in the future, because it's sad to see. And I think people like the idea of them actually trying to be transparent and talk to chat questions, things like that. But in practice, that was just not a great start to that idea. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. Una in chat has pointed out a great point that said this reaction reminds me of that Homer Simpson meme of him backing back into the hedge, which is the perfect response. He probably would have got thousands of retweets if you had put that underneath the Twitch reply in this tweet, because that's absolutely perfect. I think we said last week, I'm so happy that Twitch is doing this, but they haven't nailed it. Like, they shouldn't have got DJ Wheat to do this, or DJ Wheat should have at least had some kind of script. You know, at least for that question, I feel like that was the one that really, you know, caused a lot of stir and debate, and you could see that he was clearly a bit emotionally invested and telling people that they can just mark things as not interested, and, you know, it's the right context for the hot tub streamers to be in and all those kind of things. It doesn't surprise me that they're reworking it. I'll ask you the question though, Ben. Do you think DJ Wheat is hosting this when it does come back?
I don't know. I mean, because he still is the face of Twitch for a lot of things. I was watching him do interviews with mental health people recently on the front page. So I kind of feel like he still might be, but it would just be way more scripted. And the problem is, like, he's the punching bag too by being the face of the company. So even if, you know, it's not like he's the one making all these moderation decisions, but he has to speak to them, right? So it's just unfortunate that he has to deal with that. But I think he'll probably still do it in the future, albeit with a lot more preparation next time. And obviously, like, the timing was so bad too, because they really did this episode right in the heat of the hot tub thing. And it's a very polarizing issue. Whereas if they'd done it like even just 2 weeks before that, it wouldn't have been nearly as bad. So I don't know. It's probably just a perfect storm of things happening, and we'll see what happens in the future.
I would much rather see DJ Wheat hosting it than Emmett. I'll just say that straight up. Like, at least he has some sort of charisma on screen rather than the robot CEO, which all these companies seem to have. I mean, I respect Twitch for doing it, and they can't just delay them talking about the hot tub meta until it's like not a big deal. If they're running a weekly live show where people can ask questions, like, they have to handle the hot topics.
Yeah.
And I kind of sympathize, like, what what are they meant to do other than have a more prepped answer? But if all he could really answer was that Twitch didn't think there's anything wrong with it, then he is going to take all of the flack for that. So yeah, it's a rough one. But am I surprised? Absolutely not. Do I hope it comes back in some way? Yes, I do. Whether it's him hosting it or somebody else, I just hope they have a bit more preparation. You know, like put some work in like we do for this podcast, Ben, like hours and hours of research, hard-hitting articles. It's not just Googling the first thing and pulling up the first article, is it? You know, you've got to really put the work in behind the scenes.
Yeah. It's definitely not making Pete do all the research and then looking through his topics before we go. Just kidding.
You carry me with the voice anyway. Let's move on to the next thing. We spoke maybe 2 weeks ago. I can't remember if this was on the first live podcast or not, about sport on Twitch and how I think it's going to be a big push in 2021. It's not just me that thinks it's a big push. I think a lot of people do. But we have seen news this week of Tokyo 2020, which is happening this year, even though it's still called Tokyo 2020, which is obviously the Olympics, is going to have its own show on Twitch. And I think this is going to be either an exact replica of the coverage that you see over in America. Is it NBC? I think it is. Yeah, here, NBC. So I don't know if it's going to be like a exact same feed as what you would get on NBC is going to be on this Twitch channel, or if it's going to be, you know, involving some streaming personalities and they're going to try and make it really appealing for this younger audience that is on Twitch rather than the people that are watching on TV. But I think it's a pretty big deal, right? The Olympics every 4 years, getting a stream on Twitch. And I love watching the Olympics. Like we've had it over in London in 2012, I think it was. And I went and watched all kinds of things, you know, whatever I could get tickets for, hockey or, you know, sprints or any kind of sport. It's so interesting to watch people at the top of their game. So obviously Twitch has probably put some money behind this, or NBC really wants to appeal to this younger audience. But I guess there's two topics here that we're talking back to back, because Twitch has also announced a sports accelerator. But do you want to talk firstly about this Olympic show a bit?
Yeah, first of all, I think this is the first time we've seen anything like this. I do want to say I'm not totally sure it's going to be the actual sport coverage. I just linked another tweet there. Zach Boosty was tweeting a bit about it too. It seems like it's mostly going to be like side casting. So a couple creators streaming stuff about the event and maybe doing highlights, things like that. It seems like they're still going to direct you to watch on NBC, at least in the US, for the actual coverage of the games. But in either case, I think it's the first time we've had coverage on the Olympics on Twitch at all. So I think it's going to be super cool to watch that. Like, you imagine watching people doing Olympic games with Twitch chat. I always say anything with Twitch chat is better, just to be able to 100%. React to that. So
I agree.
Yeah. Hopefully it will be the events, because I would love to watch people like break world records with Twitch chat. I mean, the emotes you can imagine would be pretty amazing. So I think it's super cool. We'll have to see what it actually turns out like. When does it? I actually don't know. Do you know when the Olympics start?
It probably has it at some point in this article. It's got to be before winter, right? Because
it's definitely summer. Well, for us in the northeastern.
I don't know. I'm seeing random dates. I'm sure it's easy to find, but it must be relatively soon. I would have thought it would be in the summer at some point. But yeah, Twitch chat makes anything better. And we've talked actually when we've been talking about like YouTube versus Twitch, that the culture on Twitch and that Twitch chat is something that YouTube maybe can't build. You know, that requires years of a platform being somewhere where people go to watch. So yeah, I love watching. Like I remember when I used to watch like football matches, I would find somebody's Twitch chat that was dedicated to that football match, and I'd just have that at the side of the game, and it'd be so funny watching people's reactions to like missed shots or people's haircuts or anything like it. It's just made it all so much more entertaining. So we'll see. But this kind of ties into the Sports Accelerator program that Twitch has announced, and we've seen this with a couple of different niches. But effectively, Twitch is trying to promote more sports talk shows or sporting events on their platform. So if you run a stream, or if you're thinking about starting a stream which is going to cover like a sports talk show, they've got here podcasts, talk shows, reaction streams, sidecasts, watch-alongs, news and events, draft picks, and more. If you fall into that category, then there is an option to get paid to stream on Twitch. I think it's a minimum of $150 a month for 20 hours of broadcast content. They want to grow this niche. I've realized I'm not showing this on screen, so let me do that. This is an official blog post by Twitch about the Sports Accelerator program. But yeah, And they've got some examples of streamers that are doing things that are part of the program already. But effectively, if you like talking about sports and you want to make a stream that surrounds that, then you should definitely apply. I think you have to be an affiliate and you can't be a partner is the requirement. But if you can stream for 20 hours a month in that sports category and they like the look of you, you're making good content, then you can get paid to stream on Twitch. Like, why wouldn't you take $150 a month? That's like a stream upgrade every single month that you could get, a new webcam or stream deck or a microphone. It's definitely worth doing. And I kind of like that Twitch does this when they're trying to grow a category, because this is a really good way for Twitch to grow the category, but also for the streamers to directly benefit. Because you've got to imagine they're going to push you as a content creator here. They're going to put you up on the front page and things like that. And I imagine like there must be loads of people watching that, like talking about sports and have a sports podcast or want to talk about draft picks in various different kinds of sports. So I think this is really cool. I've actually got a few friends that have like sports channels on YouTube that I think would be perfect for this. And you can't say no to an extra $150 a month, can you?
Yeah. Plus, I think the 150 is the minimum. So it sounds like it could even be more than that, depending on how you grow and doing things like that, which is pretty cool. But I think we reported on this a couple months back. This kind of got leaked, and we talked about it. So a little pat on the shoulder for there. But yeah, this is super cool. And like you said, anytime it's non-gaming stuff, anytime they're incentivizing creators to do anything in general, I think is pretty cool for this type of program. But especially for the new categories that they want to break out. Obviously, we talked about the Olympics just now, and I've seen all sorts of types of things popping up on Twitch with like workout streams, things like that on the front page. So they definitely want to push the fitness and sports side of it as well. Plus, I don't think that the requirements are too terrible, right? Just be affiliate, broadcast 20 hours, use the right titling, only live content, which it's all pretty basic, I think. Once you're an affiliate, that's really like the only viewership requirement. So it's pretty achievable. And I think if you are into this kind of stuff, it could help you break out, especially if Twitch does push you on the front page or in other areas they want to accelerate you. So this is a pretty cool way to do that. It might even be ways to like do sports content while doing gaming content. And there's a lot of creators who do multiple things. So maybe if you really want to do gaming content, but you happen to have some intersection with sports stuff, you can find a way to do a hybrid thing. I don't know. It seems like a good option if you are wanting to break out that way. So I don't know anybody who would do it personally, but it sounds like you might, which is cool.
Yeah, there is one of the FAQs is, I don't know which one is it here. Sorry, is gaming content permitted within the 20 hours of broadcast? And it says no. So the only thing I would say, if you are like already doing gaming and it's not in any way related to sport, then maybe it's worth starting a new channel to do this. But if your game streams are of that sport, like, if you're covering football or soccer and your game is FIFA or Madden, is that the American football one? I'm really showing how much I understand my American audience here. But if your gaming content is to do with that game, I think that should, there's no reason that can't be on the same channel. And then as long as you're still hitting the 20 hours of broadcasting, a talk show or a podcast or a draft pick or something like that, then it makes complete sense. Like I would love for somebody that is watching this now who is really interested in sport to apply and to start making content in this niche, because I think it's a really good opportunity. And I actually really see the future of live streams being heavily involved around sport. So if you're knowledgeable about it and you're talking about it with your mates anyway, why don't you set up a podcast with your mates that you live stream to Twitch and apply to this program where you can get paid to do so. Now, $150 a month minimum. So if you're pulling big numbers, you can probably negotiate something with Twitch, and hopefully we'll start to see other streaming platforms like YouTube really try and get more content on their site, because that's effectively really what Twitch is doing here, isn't it? They want to make Twitch the place to talk about sport, as well as Twitch the place to talk about video games as well.
Which makes a lot of sense, like you said, because I mean, even looking at the DMCAs in the past week, which are mostly around sports, if Twitch could actually make some sort of deal where they have co-casting, I know they have some of this even with actual football in the US with Tim doing things like that. But if you can actually watch your sports games with your favorite streamers and get their own commentary instead of whatever the network is that's doing it on TV, that does cement the future kind of sporting stuff. Even in esports, this is happening where people are watching individual casters stream esports matches instead of the official leagues. So I definitely can see that happening with sports leagues across the world. And Like you said, I think it's a great time to get in. If you want to get in, if Twitch pushes you, you can kind of be at the front of that, assuming they do go after those types of deals. So super cool. And I think we, like you said, hopefully we'll see other platforms do that as well in the future.
Yeah, we say that discoverability is hard on Twitch, isn't it? Like, this is an opportunity. And I'm not saying, you know, you have to stream something that you don't want to stream. Like, this only appeals to people that want to be talking about this kind of stuff. But like, this is a great opportunity, I think. And I imagine Twitch is going to do this. We've seen them do it for music before. Like, they've had a program where if you're a musician and you record live, or you know, take viewer requests to play some of your songs live and things like that, like, they're going to keep trying to get more creators on the platform outside of gaming, because they want to grow those categories on Twitch and stop making it a platform about gaming and just start making a platform about being live with whatever community. So I guess this kind of goes out to anybody that has a YouTube channel that is creating content about anything. Like, keep your eyes on Twitch and maybe even shoot them an email and say, you know, I've got this relatively big YouTube channel about cooking. I'd love to be the face of YouTube, of Twitch's cooking live stream directory. So yeah, I'm excited for this. It shows that Twitch is forward thinking. They're not going to just die a redundant platform that are, you know, forever known as being a hot tub streaming platform. They have other content now as well.
Break out of there.
Let's talk about Twitter, because this is a platform that we haven't seen there being, you know, particularly great options for content creators. Can you call people that tweet content creators? I mean, you kind of can now, right?
So. Yeah, I feel like it's rare that you see a lot of Twitter accounts that are only famous on Twitter, right? I know a lot of people that pull followings from other platforms, but not a lot of, there's some organic Twitter accounts, but they're pretty rare, I feel like. But they are adding their own monetization to Twitter now, which is pretty interesting. So you'll be able to actually tip accounts on Twitter now, I guess in a similar way to Twitch, YouTube, everything else, where you can give some money in a tip jar, essentially, with PayPal or Venmo. I don't know if it's going to be on the specific tweet or I guess just to the account. Like, I don't know how this actually show up on the platform, but pretty interesting.
The link that we've got in our notes that I've got showing on screen right now shows that if you go to somebody's profile, there's a new button at the top, which is like a donation button. And then you get a drop down list of, I guess, platforms that creator has added. So, you know, PayPal or Cash App, I think they have in there, Patreon, Venmo, Bandcamp. Those are the 5 options that they're showing in this graphic anyway. And then it just links to that person's profile on that page, so you can donate directly. So Twitter is taking no cut here. This isn't something that Twitter have built where you're giving your credit card details to Twitter and they take a processing fee and make money from it. Like, they're using other services here. Like, they're promoting Patreon and Cash App and PayPal, which I find really surprising. Like, they're just trying to make Twitter a really great place to create content and taking zero cut. And, you know, you're obviously going to have some cut taken by PayPal or Patreon. I don't actually haven't used Cash App, so I don't know quite how that works. But I found that super surprising, because when I saw this announced, I presumed that this was, you know, Twitter trying to build a version of Twitch subscriptions or YouTube memberships or Patreon memberships. But it's not like that.
That's what I thought initially too. So it's not really monetization, actually. It's just supporting a way to donate to people, because there's not even, like, my thought initially was, is this going to show on certain tweets that, like, this is a, you know, a donated tweet or something, or you're supporting a certain creator somehow, but it looks like there's no public show of that, right? It's just completely private for donating to creators. So it's just a way to basically make that easier on Twitter, which is kind of cool. I mean, there are a lot of journalists who just do stuff on Twitter, so I could see them benefiting from this type of thing, and people like that coverage, for example.
Yeah, They'd have to make that process quite fluid, wouldn't they? Like you say, if there's no way of knowing when you're browsing your Twitter home feed, you know, that this person accepts donations, then you have to really like them to go to their profile, right? I never go to people's profile. I'm just seeing what people have tweeted that day. So this, I don't know how often I see this being used, but I have been surprised in the past at, like, how willing people are to support content creators. And like you say, there are people that are just creating content on Twitter. You know, there are accounts that are just meme-based and original memes and just great comedic tweets, or, you know, really informational reporting of news stories and things like that. So maybe it's going to be much more highly used than we think. There's some users in chat saying, you know, is this available now? I think right now they're rolling out very slowly, and you have to enable it on your accounts. It's by no means enabled by default. And this second image that I'm showing on screen now just shows that those 5 platforms are the 5 that they're supporting right now. And you just input your username for whichever ones you want to start accepting donations from. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that they've introduced it at this stage, because like Twitter is one of the real OG platforms that's been around for such a long time, and there hasn't really been a way for content creators to monetize it apart from doing sponsored stuff. You know, you see sponsored tweets all the time, but that's a relationship that's organized outside of Twitter. It's not something that's organized through Twitter. So we'll see, I think, how often this is used. Who would you be donating to? Let's hear who's your top Twitter account other than gaming careers, obviously.
I mean, we talk about Zach Boosie's tweet all the time here. He does a really good job covering the industry, right? So that's the kind of first thing I think of for people who are on the news side who kind of use Twitter as their reporting area. But I'm sure there are like some meme accounts, like you said, too, and that kind of thing might be worth it. It's just interesting because I kind of wonder like what the incentive for Twitter is to do this. I guess just offering new features is good.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
They want to incentivize content creators to really put a lot of effort into their tweets. You know, last week on the live show, we talked about my Twitter thread about the YouTube algorithm. And I was saying, I actually ended up spending like the majority of a day writing this. I just started thinking I want to put my ideas into a tweet thread about how I got to 300,000 subscribers. And then it turned into this like really popular thread. If I didn't have a YouTube channel and all I did was make threads about content creating, then you can see some like use case of people wanting to reward that and, you know, really enjoying your content. So that's what Twitter want to do. Twitter want to incentivize creators to put a lot of effort into the content that they're creating on the platform. But yeah, not taking any kind of monetary cut of that, I found really surprising. Maybe they're building something in the background and they wanted to release it as soon as it was ready. I don't know. Mean,
I'll be honest, it's a really good long-term play. Like if they can actually hold out, because I'm actually not sure about the financials of Twitter, but I feel like they've had a tough time monetizing, if I remember correctly. So that's why I was surprised that there wasn't a monetization piece to this, because it seems like the perfect type of thing to add that cut, right? The way that Twitch does or something. But at the same time, it's really good to compare it to places like Twitch, because there is no cut for the platform. So you're getting that full amount for the creator. And it's definitely going to be more incentivizing than if they were to take a cut. So I think it'll be good for creators on the platform. I just wonder like how Twitter sustains it. So I don't know. We'll have to kind of see if they maybe make modifications on this. Like the concept of adding, like cheering a tweet essentially or something makes a lot of sense to me. But I don't know. We'll kind of see, because I think this could be pretty cool in the future.
Yeah. So maybe if they do add it as a button below each tweet, you're going to see that be the next level of retweets. Like rather than asking your users for retweets, you're going to ask them for donations because you think that tweet is so good, it deserves $3 or something. I don't know. I'm always surprised at how hard it is for a platform to introduce monetization or like some way of supporting creators at a later date, and something that Twitch has absolutely excelled at. Like credit to Twitch for having monetization like be such a standard part of their platform. Like it's so normal for people to subscribe to their favorite streamers for $5 a month on Twitch. And even YouTube is struggling with that aspect when you're comparing it to Twitch. Like it's very hard to make that the norm in a community for people to be supported. You know, there's no real advantage to me watching a streamer and subscribing to them versus watching as a free viewer. Like I'm just getting emotes in chat and maybe seeing my username on stream, but people do it left, right, and center on Twitch. It's like how most Twitch streamers make the majority of their money. So yeah,
well, I mean, YouTube did at least add sub-only mode now, so that might help with the conversion there. That's
maybe,
but
my inclination with that is that I think people support content creators to be supportive rather than for any of these like minuscule features of getting emotes. Maybe I'm wrong and naive, and most kids just actually want to be able to spam, you know, Tim the Tap Man. Whatever I don't even know what his acronym is for his emotes. It would have been better if I had an example there. But Gammy Yikes, that's the one in my Discord where it's like my face in oversaturated. So yeah, we'll see. I just think it's, you know, is Twitter going to start to put things behind like a membership, or is it just going to be a donation? Like, are they going to have, you know, a premium platform where only certain tweets can be seen by people that have donated to you? I think we've seen rumors of that, maybe some even official rumors of that. So it's interesting to think about that as Twitter as a platform that you can create content on. It makes my job like interesting because now I can talk about another platform that you can literally get paid to create content on. Like it's much more relevant to try and grow a Twitter account now that this is out than it was 3 days ago or whenever it wasn't announced. So
yeah,
really
very
interesting. Should we move on to the last topic? Do you want to introduce it?
The big video. So if you guys missed it, Pete released a video over the last week on new webcams. Well, not new webcams, but a webcam comparison of a couple different options. What were the three that you mentioned, Pete?
Logitech StreamCam, the longest webcam name in the world, which is AverMedia Live Streamer Cam 513. I think it's commonly now being referred to as the PW513, but the official name is Live Streamer Cam 513. And the Razer Kiyo Pro, which is the most recent of the three to come out. So these are all webcams that are priced around $200, and it's such a funny price point. It's such a strange price point because it's a very expensive webcam. We talk in depth about the C920 being like, it's like the Blue Yeti of webcams, isn't it? It's like, it's recommended. Yep. You can buy it in Best Buy. It's $50. It often goes on Amazon Prime for $25, and it's definitely good enough. Like, it's 1080p 60. Most people have a small webcam. So these premium webcams that cost 4 times as much in their default pricing and 8 times as much on deal, they sit in such a funny point because they're still definitely not as good as a proper camera with a lens, and they are better than a C920, but are they? I'm going to say, are they better enough? But that is not good English. Is the difference worth the increase in money? I had a lot of people asking that question, so I thought I would make a video about that, because I managed to get my hands on the Razer Kiyo Pro and already had the other 2 cameras, and side-by-side tests I think are really useful, and they're all quite good. I think that's the summary of the video. If you don't want to watch it, they're all surprisingly good, but at the same time, are they worth it? I think that's a question you have to kind of answer after having watched the video. There's big differences in FOV and lighting and colors, but you can fix a lot of colors. So really, the FOV I think is the biggest difference between the cameras. And as long as you're lit properly, all of them do a good job. If you struggle with lighting, then I would avoid the AverMedia camera because that's the smallest sensor. But yeah, what did you think of the video as a whole? Because I hadn't really done like one of these in-depth webcam comparisons before.
I love seeing side-by-side webcam comparisons because it's so easy to see the difference when you have that direct comparison. It was really cool to see all three. I really liked how overall the StreamCam and the Kiyo looked. I think the toughest thing, like you said, for me to get behind is the price tag on these being at $200. Because at that point, you're halfway towards the mirrorless usually, or about halfway, right, with like entry mirrorless setup. And maybe you factor out the cam link and things like that. But my biggest question is like, when do you feel like who is this for, right? Like this price range of webcam, because let's assume you have a C920 and you want to upgrade, but you're between like these options and just going to the full mirrorless option. Like for me, I have a very tough time justifying dropping $200 on a webcam that I might want to upgrade again for another 100, 450, whatever, for the mirrorless. So I don't know. Do you feel like there's a situation where you'd want to get this option instead of doing that, besides just budget?
Yeah, I think if you are, if in your use case you're you, and at some point you eventually want to go to a mirrorless camera or like interchangeable lens camera or a GoPro with a capture card, like the pro ultimate aim for most streamers is to get to that point. If you know you want to get there and you're growing, then maybe just hold on to the C920 and keep saving up, and then eventually get the capture card route. Because the big advantage with the capture card route is you buy the capture card once. If you buy one of these cameras and then you want to go to a capture card route, then you've spent $200 that you then probably have to sell on eBay, and then you still have to buy a camera and a capture card. Whereas if you buy the capture card route, you buy that capture card once, and then you can upgrade lenses and cameras as you please, but you're not having to spend that $150 for a cam link or something similar. So it is difficult. I would say that the webcam, obviously, the biggest advantage is how easy it is. So if you're somebody that's not particularly tech savvy, or you don't want to have to invest in all the extras, because a lot of people compare to like the A5100 is the classic streamer cam, like entry camera. I think I've got one on my shelf back there actually. But even if you get that relatively cheap secondhand, you're still not taking into account like, and I know some of these things sound minor, but they are extra costs, like HDMI cable. You need a way to power it indefinitely, which is like a dummy battery. You need a way to mount it somewhere, which is usually either a cheap desk tripod or like the Elgato multi-mount. You need lenses if you want to have a better look. Like they do come with a kit lens, which is definitely good enough, but people sometimes want like this bokeh that we both have in the background, where you're going to need a more expensive lens. You need the capture card. Like, it's not just the camera that you're buying. Whereas when you buy a webcam, you have everything you need out of the box: the USB cable, the mounting, all those things. So
yeah,
there is more to think about, I think, in the cost of a cheap DSLR camera setup that isn't talked about that much, where these webcams do benefit. I think they're pretty fairly priced, honestly. But
yeah,
if you're like me and if you're like Ben, then I think most people aspire to have a proper camera setup at some point, and then I think it makes less sense, especially if you've already got a C920. I would just hold the C920 at that point. Maybe if you're buying a brand new camera for the first time and you've never streamed before and you want a good look straight out the box, then these options make sense. But I think they're pretty hard to get your hands on them anyway during COVID times, to get your hand on a webcam. So I actually do have a spare Razer Kiyo Pro, so I'd need to give that away at some point. That's a good plug for listening live to the podcast. Maybe we can give one of those away next week or something like that. I'll have a think. But yeah, the video itself I think was really interesting to make. Hopefully it's going to be helpful to some people that are like trying to decide, are these cameras worth it? That's ultimately what I'm trying to help you decide. I'm not trying to sell any of these, trust me. I'm trying to save you guys money, if anything. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it, Ben.
I did.
We should.
And you did a good job going through all the features. I'm actually curious how these look compared to the C920, because I've just used that camera for so long that I've always been amazed how much you can get out of that little thing. But obviously these look really good for the price range, and it's nice that we have the intermediate option, kind of, if you can't get up to that 400 to 800 range for the mirrorless usually, because those things do add up that you mentioned too. So those come into effect. But I definitely enjoyed it, and I think for someone who's looking to these features, then did a good job covering all the low light stuff too. Was cool to see, which is important for like my type of stream. So that stuff is pretty cool to see too.
Yeah, I'll emphasize that about the C920 as well. Like lighting makes the biggest difference to any of these cameras. Webcams, they have small sensors that require good light, and usually they're like auto white balance and auto exposure is horrific. So give it lots of light and it looks quite good, even the C920. I do have another video which is on the Logitech StreamCam when that came out, and I did a lot of comparisons in that video to the C920, so hopefully that's at least some comparisons for people. But yeah, that probably does it this week. I don't know if we have had a chance to get any questions in from chat.
I saw one come in. It was actually a super chat, I think, from the Boxing Lounge, which is an appropriate name, because he asked, I started streaming boxing games. Do I have anything to worry about? This is as we talked about the whole live DMCA with sports things. So I don't know what type. Yeah, I don't know what types of boxing games he's streaming specifically. Like if it's his own, or if he's talking professional like TV boxing games that he's rebroadcasting, because that'll drastically affect the answer, I think. But you have thoughts on this, Pete?
Yeah, that's a very good point. If you're streaming your matches and you have like permission of the gym that you're in, I'm trying to think of all the things that you would need permission for. Maybe, well, you would need permission from your opponent, I'd imagine, to stream, and anyone else that's involved. But that could be incredibly entertaining, couldn't it? If you, if you own a boxing gym, or you're a boxer trying to go amateur or something like that, then you could definitely have a stream. But that's a very good point, isn't it? Because we talked last week about Twitch there's not a way to talk with Twitch and find out what is and what isn't allowed. Like, is there any issue with violence if it's a sport like boxing? I'd imagine not, because it's an official sport. It's represented in the Olympics, who we've just seen Twitch partner up with. So I would think that would be a very good idea, and you should definitely apply for the Twitch scholarship. Interview the people that you fought afterwards. All those kind of things. You could create so many different types of content around that. The opposite side of it, if you're just streaming professional boxing matches that are pay-per-view events, I think you're probably going to get not only a DMCA takedown request, but probably a ban on the platform as well. But seeing as their name is the Boxing Lounge, I would imagine that this is something that they're starting up and covering various different amateur fights or their journey into amateur boxing. So it's a good question.
I agree. I think if you do your unboxing stuff, it's a perfect type of content to do the accelerator program we talked about. So you should definitely get on that if it's your own content, your own matches, whatever. But if you're restreaming stuff, don't do that, obviously, because when we talked about how many, there's been more in the past week than in the past year of live DMCAs. So that's probably going for you if you're rebroadcasting Logan Paul versus whoever. But good question, and we appreciate that. We're always looking for questions from chat, so let us know as we go through these guys. We always kind of look through chat as we're going and kind of hit those at the end of the episode.
Yeah, we need to work out a better way of getting user questions from chat, because it's hard. I feel in the pain of being a host and trying to keep up with chat here. It's a difficult job being a streamer. So maybe we need to look at some way of submitting them through a Google form or something. Anyway, that's for me and Ben to discuss afterwards. Hopefully this has been a really great live stream. You guys have joined. Again, can't believe that we've had so many people stop by and watch this. If you could all do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button on the video, that would be greatly appreciated. And obviously, if you're new to the Gaming Careers channel, I can't imagine that you are, but if today was the day you subscribe to the channel and you're seeing this live stream, we do this every single Monday at this same time, which is, I'm going to learn this now, aren't I? 9 a.m. Western side, which is PST.
Yes.
12 p.m. Last week we said 12 a.m., which was a mistake. 12 p.m.
Yep.
EST.
Yes, you got it.
And don't forget us in Britain, 5 p.m. BST, British Summer Time. So you need to learn that one, and then I'll do the 2 American side, right?
Yeah, I heard it's daylight time. I get those confused, EST versus EDT, and for the other areas as well. I think we're in daylight time because of daylight savings, but it's too complicated for me. I can't do it.
Yeah, we're gonna get better at this. It'll be like part of our outro anyway. The other thing I did is I've hopefully programmed our outro music to start playing when I press that button, which is very good. So people aren't going to miss the intro outro music anymore. But yeah, thanks so much for everybody that's watched and listened along to this podcast. Hopefully you guys are stopping by for the live show more often now, and keep talking about this live streaming industry. That's all from us. Peace.
See ya.